See, we got you and you. We will review tomorrow. I just threw together a Kahoot, not like I think it was yesterday, so it's not enough pictures or anything like that. But that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to end up testing over the greenhouse gases, global warming, whatever the heck I'm calling this unit, on Friday. Okay, so that's not a huge deal. I won't be here Monday, and so what I'm letting you guys do Monday is for those, if you miss Friday, you can take the test, and there won't be an access code. There will be a time limit though of 45 minutes on it. Let me go into Canvas right now and double check and make sure that. Let me go into my module. I'm not worried about stalling a little bit because these are short. Go into the test. Yeah, okay, so if you do, what is it that seniors are doing on Friday? What is it? Oh, lovely. Okay, so if you're partaking in that, they really still do that. It'll be open through 11:59 Monday evening for the test. Okay, so it'll be open on the weekend, but it is a 45-minute timer. No, asynchronous days are over with. The last one was what, like on the 26th? Oh God, I lost my train of thought. I'm still not sure what we're doing next week. There might be a couple things that we talk about, but I don't know if people are asking, can we watch something? I'm gonna try if you find something. If this goes by quickly enough, I may start researching. It's just everything is so biased when they talk about this kind of stuff that I don't know. We'll see. I'll look. I have not built next week, but I'm only gonna have about 3 days worth of whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I plan on giving you Friday to put your notebooks together because they're test grade. If you've been doing them on paper, you need to, take pictures and upload them and throw them in a file and whatnot. I'm not ready for you to turn anything in because I don't know what we're doing next week yet. I haven't built it. What? I know. I think everybody's ready because it's been a very, very, very long year for all of us, for you guys, for your parents, for us, everybody. I think this has been the roughest year I've ever taught. Just because doing a project I've never taught before, I'm not educated in, I'm like, I do this. I've never taken geology class before in my life. All right, so for the opener today, tell me one of the ways that pollution is caused, because there are so many answers to this. Okay, cars, they're going to pollute what? Actually, they can pollute a couple things. How would cars pollute, or what would cars pollute? Automobiles. Yeah, so the carbon dioxide emissions, that's air pollution. What else will a car pollute? There's two other things. Okay, there's three things. How would it pollute water? Okay, so if it leaks oil or maybe like the coolant and stuff that if dogs drink it because it's sweet, will kill them, antifreeze. If it makes its way to the water system, yes, it's going to pollute the water, but it also in the process can pollute the land. I don't know, and the gasoline, I don't know if you've ever poured gasoline in grass before, which you're not supposed to do, okay, but it kills it. I'm not saying catch it on fire, but it will kill it. The grass can't handle it, so. But cars also have, cars also cause noise pollution. Noise pollution, yes. Noise pollution is a real thing. Well, we'll talk about it here in a second. Yeah. That's why, I don't know, I mean, Hazel's a small town, so not really here, but people that live next to highways and have these big retaining walls, that's to keep the sound away from the houses. So, pollution. This should not take us long. And if you did not do the stuff from yesterday or the day before, the non-renewable sources, which closes tonight, The one yesterday, which was greenhouse gases, but it was really more about the carbon dioxide cycle than anything else yesterday. I've learned I need to separate that out from greenhouse gases and go back and do more of the actual greenhouse gases. The things like the CFCs and the aerosols and stuff like that, because I did not put that in there. But you have some type of harmful, negative, sometimes just irritating something that we don't like, or the earth does not like, and it's going to cause some type of contamination. It does not mean it has to be an oil spill. I said it can be noise. I learned, and we'll get to it in a second, I learned that if you cross a certain threshold, like decibels sound, like loudness, it can cause color blindness. Yes. Noises that are too loud. Like, and I actually went back and like, we'll talk about it when I get to noise pollution. Like you cross a certain threshold, it's 90 causes sensitivity to light. And if you cross 95 for long periods of time, it literally can cause color blindness.
So all these vibrations just mess things up in your head.
I mean, I didn't go all the way back in all the slides, but that makes sense to me. I mean, because your ear affects your balance too. If you, I mean, not that you have necessarily bombs going off in our ears or anything like that, but yeah, your hearing can cause all different kinds of issues. I just didn't ever know that it could cause vision problems. So I learned something when I was building these. I think I did this one on Sunday. I don't know. This is the last one that I built. So your quantity is a numerical value, like in the case of noise, the actual number for the loudness. Quality is something that's a non-numerical type of description. It's like you have probably heard those words if you took IPC or chemistry or anything like that. But it can happen in the air. Okay, we talked about in a car. Oh my gosh, are you okay?
Yes.
Okay. Air pollution, so the carbon dioxide emissions can pollute the air. If you have a gasket that's leaky, the smoke will, like the oil will burn and it will come out, and it's not good to see smoke come out of the back of your car. We have water pollution, and we said that in the case of cars, if it leaks and it rains, then that eventually, not all of it, but some of it can find its way to the water. Land pollution also was the automobile example that we talked about. Noise pollution, cars can do this too. But then we also have radioactive contamination, which is probably the least common of all of them. But we're going to do each one of these separately. We have talked about the atmosphere index. We did that in the second 6 weeks, I think, maybe the third, I don't remember. I have to go back and look. But that's and yesterday we said it's the magnetosphere that helps keep the atmosphere together. Otherwise, the sun's solar wind will strip the elements into, like, it takes nitrogen gas, N2, and breaks it down to nitrogen and nitrogen, and then they're much lighter and they can escape the gravitational pull of the earth. So without that, we have no atmosphere, and without the atmosphere, we suffocate and we die. And then the sun bakes the surface of the earth with gamma radiation, and we basically turn into Mars. You might have life at the bottom of the ocean, but not on the surface. So industries, producing things, factories. Okay, so industry is a very encompassing term. They are going to burn fossil fuels in some way, shape, or form, the bulk of them. Or even if they are using clean energy, we discussed that they still need the fossil fuels, like oil specifically, to lubricate the turbines. So industries are a major source of pollution. They're also where like 40% of our electrical supply goes to in this country. I don't know about other countries. Cars, there's different gasoline, kerosene, propane. No, not napalm. There's many different types of fuel sources that we use. Coal, and like I said, even your clean energy is still going to have fossil fuels in some way, shape, or form. And then we have many different gases: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. I could go on and on and on and on and on. There's so many different gases that if they're in higher proportions, they can cause breathing problems. They can actually cause respiratory failure, death in very young children. Can cause asthma. It can cause all different kinds of problems in people. It can kill you. Carbon monoxide. This is what generators put off. This is why you do not run diesel generators inside your house. There were people that when we had that cold weather, they were running generators in their garage and they suffocated. Or they were trying to stay warm in their car and they left the garage closed because it was -4 outside. And I don't know how many people actually died from doing that, but it happened. It did. Air pollution is going to affect us in many different ways. I said, breathing problems, eye problems, neurological disorders, death. I'm not sure about birth defects. I'm sure air pollution is tied into there some way, shape, or form. I'm digging back to pathophysiology right now. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't even know where I put my patho book. Where did I put my patho book? I didn't get rid of it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being tangential. Can affect the health of animals. Like I said, you've got, depending on what the pollution is, it can cause infertility. Plants, it can kill them. It can mutate them. It can cause blight. All different kinds of sicknesses. And in general, just the overall quality of the atmosphere itself. Because humans pollute. We don't necessarily do it on purpose, but it happens. How can we reduce air pollution? You're going to see it's going to be the same sequence in each one of these. So what is it? What causes it? How do we fix it? Or how can we possibly reduce it? It's not necessarily always fixed. Natural gases are much cleaner. Things like propane, butane, not butadiene. Butadiene's not, that's bad stuff. There's a few others, but I'm not going to go into depth. You don't have to know all of them. But natural gas, when you burn it, if you've ever had a propane burner, you don't see smoke come off of it like if you burn in charcoal. So certain types of fossil fuels are better to use than others if you have the ability to do it. Burst crackers. All right, let me explain what a burst cracker is. Whoops, let me go backwards. A burst cracker is essentially a gigantic firecracker. Okay, so take like a black cat, but put it on steroids. And a burst cracker is put into the ground, sort of like dynamite, and it's to be able to get to some type of resource that's in the ground. And now we do still use burst crackers, but that's really all a burst cracker is. It's a gigantic firecracker. It's to get to something. It's to blow the rock out of the earth to get to something underneath it. Being more fuel efficient. We have a big push for electric cars or hybrid cars. Some cars use LPGs, liquid propane gases, that are cleaner than using gasoline. We have engines that are much more fuel efficient nowadays, depending on the size of the engine, the weight of the car, or truck or whatever. Cars are a lot lighter than they used to be. They're not the big steel tanks. They're a lot more plastics, which is fossil fuels. And then in general, electric stoves, they pollute less than gas does. As far as outdoor grills, propane grill versus a charcoal, although honestly, some food just tastes better when it's cooked with charcoal, especially if it's got a smoker on it, which pollutes, but tastes good. Now, water pollution. Oh, those pictures are so gross. All right, so the water is contaminated with, it could be human, like sewage, like poo-poo, pee-pee, That's bad for the environment. We already talked about how when waste gets into water, the whole can kill the fish if you don't have the right bacteria. The one on the right looks like toxic sludge, which is not the bulk of, as far as pollution, water pollution is the most deadly. Now, we don't really have that big of an issue here. Okay, but in places like India, the Ganges, they still float the dead down the river. Okay, well, they do it. And further downriver, that river is the water source for people to get drinking water, bathing water, water for their crops. But yeah, they do still do that with this. But yeah, like I said, we don't necessarily have that so bad here. Now you could have like oil tankers that get cracks in their hull and they leak into the ocean. That still happens. Effluents are just it's the factories of the nuclear power plants. They still have wastewater. Normally they're processed, so what comes out of factories is not contaminated, but that is not always the truth. And the two images that I put on here is an example of water that you do not want to drink. The one on the left looks like raw sewage to me. The one on the right definitely looks like some type of a, well, that's sludge. It's not.
What is that meter?
It's the one on the green one. That's, that to me, that looks like a nuclear power plant spa product. I'd have to go back and pull it up where I got it from. But yeah, if you see water like that, don't drink green water or water that looks like it's got feces in it. That would be bad. All right, diseases. So the previous slide said 40% of deaths are tied to water pollution. These are the three big ones. You know, there are more. Okay, but cholera, malaria, and typhoid. Now we have, I'm not saying it's a death sentence if you get one of these, but you're not going to have a good time if your body actually survives them. You're going to have horrible diarrhea. A lot of times you're going to be vomiting. Very, very, very contagious. You've got, when you have, oil is a bad one. When you have pollution, obviously you're going to have issues with your fish or any other aquatic life for that matter. It's not just fish. And you don't bathe in rivers. You don't put soaps and detergents directly into rivers. I know, speaking from personal experience, when we flood, I don't have that issue anymore because I moved. We didn't have a choice but to use flood water for things because the water didn't work. We were underwater. Okay, and you've got, when you do have flooding, you're going to have things like people that have gas cans in their garage and like paint that's stored that's going to get into the water. You can't really stop that in that kind of case, but you should not intentionally do this. So other ways, I think there's one more. There is. Other ways that we can try to avoid polluting water, besides like not intentionally doing this one. Some places it's illegal to harvest rainwater. So I don't know what the code is here in Hazel, but you actually can get in trouble for sticking out the rain barrels and collecting rainwater and then using that to water plants. But it is a way that you can help reduce pollution because even though the water that in rain is a little acidic, it tends to be on the clean side and it's okay to drink.
Why would it be illegal to harvest rain?
Okay, so I know California is probably like this. California has a water issue right now. Okay, so the natural rainwater is supposed to go into an aquifer that then they use for human consumption. And if you harvest rainwater, you're actually stealing the water that's supposed to go into the water supply. I know it's stupid, but that's why.
Yeah, I guess like we kind of would be like prolonging the time it would take for it to get in the aquifer.
That's All I can say is wherever you decide that you're gonna go live, I mean, there are some places where it is literally illegal to stick buckets out and collect rainwater. I know, I know, just saying. That's why you have to pay attention whenever you decide that you're gonna move, what are the city codes, if you move to certain communities, does it have an HOA, all the weird little rules that people throw at you. And then, with hydroelectric dams or, what we call dikes, like that hold the river where it's supposed to go, that can actually keep water from getting into the river from areas like farmlands, which is gonna bring pollutants like fertilizers. It keeps it from getting into the water supply. So that's a few of the things that we can do. There's others. I just didn't want this one to be super long because I know the last one was long. Noise pollution. It's noise that we don't like. Okay. It could be really loud, and which means painful to the ear. It could just be happening all the dang time, and so it's irritating. It may just be you don't like the way it sounds. That's a personal preference kind of thing. You've got, somebody said traffic. Yes, traffic is a source of noise pollution. They put those giant barriers up, and it's not to like keep dirt from getting on the road. It's to keep the noise from getting to the houses that are on the other side of the highway. Planes, aircraft, we have that here. I hear the military jets fly over all the dang time. It doesn't bother me personally, but I hear them all the time. Construction, things like jackhammers, building new roads, building new houses, factories, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that can be added onto this. But yes, noise pollution is a real thing. You can actually get ticketed if you're burning out tires and stuff in city limits. That's considered noise pollution. I don't know what the fine is. I don't know. Let me check my attendance on my first term. So I know my head's in your way. Okay. Let me get in person. Okay. Okay. I got everybody. Like I said, though, with this one, it's sort of honestly for noise pollution, it's more the loudness, the duration, the intensity, how many decibels are being pushed out. Right, so this is where I learned something new. It can cause permanent hearing loss. Okay, so people that work in construction, like run jackhammers, they need to have ears on or ears in, but normally they have the muffs over their ears. It does, if the intensity and decibels is enough, it does not take a long time for you to have permanent hearing damage. When those little hairs that are in your inner ear snap off, they don't grow back. It's not like the hair on your head. Those are nerve endings. Can cause high blood pressure because you're irritated. Okay, so now you can fix high blood pressure with medication. Can cause stress, cause lack of sleep, especially if you're next to the highway. And the weird one that I learned is it can cause vision problems. Now, and this is where I sort of looked it up. Now, I didn't go into depth with this, but to me, this is actually very interesting how noise can interfere with your vision. Okay, so when I looked it up, if you have sounds that are above 90 decibels, which is a measurement of the loudness, the intensity of the sound, then you have issues determining dim light. Okay, so try like night vision. You have a delayed response. Okay, and then if it's above 95 decibels, then I looked at what my dry access was. I'm gonna have to relook here. Let me look. I know I looked it up, and now I can't remember what it is. Can cause blurred vision. How do I spell that? MYDRIA. It's like this. It is dilation of the pupil of the eye. Okay, so sorry. I know. And now that I looked that up, I remember looking it up. I don't, but so it affects how large or how small your pupil is, which is lets in a certain amount of light. Okay, it's your eye normally does adjust. Your lens normally does adjust, just like a camera lens, to let in the proper amount of light. Apparently, over 95 decibels, it doesn't let your pupil constrict the way that it's supposed to. But yeah, this was a weird one. I never learned that in any of the education, whether it be like actual school education or just personal curiosity and looking stuff up. So yeah, I've learned a couple new things with this one. But yeah, I don't. Color blindness one is weird. All right, last bit on noise pollution to help prevent it. I mean, you could try to soundproof your home. I'm sure that would be expensive. And then you'd have a nice little sanctuary where you wouldn't have to deal with noise anymore. I know they did make a soundproof room that makes you like go pretty much insane almost immediately. That's in, there's one that's somewhere here at a university, not in Texas. I can't remember what state it is. Okay, but you can build machines to help reduce noise. Now we do that with our cars. Our cars are a lot quieter inside the cab than they used to be. You get a lot less road noise. It has to do with all different kinds of stuff with manufacturing. New airports are supposed to be constructed away from where houses are. Now, normally when an airport is built, eventually you have people that choose to live close to it for whatever reason. Maybe they work at the airport, but they're not, new construction is not supposed to be built near residential areas. School zones, there are school zones that have no honking your horn sign from your car. You can get ticketed for honking your horn, specifically elementary schools. I've never seen this, but apparently they exist. I have never, ever seen a school zone that has a no honking your horn sign. I don't even know what it looks like, but apparently it exists. Like I said, you could insulate the home. Newer homes are built a lot better. The whole just keep your mouth shut and do your stuff concept. Don't scream and yell at people.
You know, my mom could learn from this because she blasts the TV all the time. It's so annoying.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's interior part of their home is, it's your house. But I mean, just in general, don't blast music all night long, and hopefully you don't have a dog like mine that barks at flies that go past the window.
I have one of those.
You have one of those? Yeah, my dumb dog, like all he has to do is hear a mouse fart outside and he's going off. Like he's just, they both do that. It's Australian shepherds for you. They're very attentive. Earbuds. I should have put that on here. Not blasting music in your ears. Not going to loud concerts, although I don't even know if concerts are going to come back. It's been forever because of COVID. So there's things that you can do to try to reduce loud noises. Basically, just be smart. If you go shoot guns, you need to have ears on. Or in, if you have the little squishy ones, which I don't like this because they make my ears hurt. I'd rather have the. Now they make the electronic ones where you can hear people talk, but it cuts out the loud noises. Those are actually pretty cool. They're not that expensive either. All right, land pollution. We got land and then we got radioactive. Is there one more goal on here? No.
Oh, yeah, I got one of those electric.
The electric ones? Yeah, you can actually hear conversations, but it takes all the loud noise out. I'm sure I've got a couple of ears over there
It's
somewhere.
like a small, little roll that right here.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's really involved in like, the sound line and everything.
I don't know. Well, they have different ones now. I don't even know where my electronic ones went. I have quite a few pairs of ears. We used to have a berm on our property in our pasture before we sold it. We invite neighbors over and we all fire guns. It's cool. It was nice living out in the country. We could do what we wanted to, not get in trouble. All right, so mining, okay, and quarrying, like digging out coal or like it could be marble, it could be, I mean, getting some type of rock, something out of the earth. Obviously, we're still going to be doing this, but doing it in an environmentally conscious way, which I said before, I was like, don't use birch crackers, but that's how they get that out. I mean, they have to. Minding how sewage is treated. So, don't just go poo and pee in the river. It needs to go into a system to be processed. Taking care of your trash the right way, recycling. Not just pouring oil out in the yard, making sure it's taken to a proper place to be processed. Factories, making sure that they take care of their waste, whether it be like solid waste, like trash, or it be liquid waste, especially going into rivers, even though a lot of the plants, they have to have a water supply to cool their systems off if they break. Land pollution, if the land is polluted, you're not going to be able to grow crops, so there goes farming issues. If it's bad enough, especially if it's radioactive, you're not going to build your house on a place that's radioactive, unless you're really dumb. The case of the opener with the car, the oil will pollute the land and eventually can get into the water system. Oil's bad. Oil's hard to get out when it gets into something. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of when seagulls and ducks and stuff get into oil and people are out with toothbrushes and Dawn soap and they're trying to scrub it off of them. Oil slicks are nasty. All right, how do we prevent it? I think that's the last one in here. With farming, the more land that's slated for farming, okay, and the less that's used for industry and residential, the more natural the land is. Okay. However, with farming, the types of fertilizers and pesticides, now we have some that are much better than what they used to be. The farming used to be they didn't care. Now we have synthetic fertilizers that mind the nitrogen that's being put into the land and into the water. Certain pesticides are now outlawed. You can't use certain ones anymore because they are so damaging to the environment. For water, I mean, we're still have to drill down to get the stuff. But collecting more surface water instead of groundwater, if it's possible. It's not always preventable. Making sure that you do throw things away the right way. Recycling is important. Trees, let alone just being able to make sure that we have oxygen to breathe. So all of these things, I didn't blue anything out just because they're all different ways. And there's other things that we could do. Obviously, if there is some type of a leak, something that is polluting, that it be stopped almost immediately, cleaned up the right way, disposed of the right way. That last one, nuclear energy. All right, radioactive pollution can happen different ways. Obviously, from nuclear power plants. Nuclear bombs, weapons. There are some things that are naturally radioactive. There are uranium, radium, curium, all of those things. But the big thing is the nuclear power plants, the things it's not smoke, cooling towers of steam. They have to be near a river. They have to have a constant water supply to cool the reactor or it melts down. And most nuclear power plants don't pollute the water. It's the spent uranium that has to be disposed of the right way. Because if it's not, then it gets into the environment, can get into the ground, can get into the water, can get into the oceans, it can get into animals. So, but you have to have a river system with a nuclear reactor. I know I showed you the coal power plant. Nuclear power plant's the same thing. It's just not coal, it's uranium-238. So nuclear power plants, nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads, atomic bombs, the spent fuel from the power plants, and actually mining for the uranium itself. It's a salt. It's always a rock. Handling it the right way. All right, so radioactive poisoning is not fun. You're gonna cough up blood. You're gonna lose teeth. You're gonna lose hair. You're gonna lose fingernails. That's if you get a mild case of radioactive poisoning. The two guys that were sent in to try to shut down the Chernobyl reactor died trying to shut it down because they had such a high exposure to radioactive, to the uranium-238. It killed them. It can cause stomach problems, ulcers, can cause issues with your eyes, make you go blind, can collapse your lungs, make your skin fall off like a leper because it's messed up. It's like radioactive poisoning is just like, can give you leukemia, can give you arthritis. It's not a good thing. I'm sure people that work in nuclear power plants make a lot of money. And I know that they have like looks like a badge, or like a car, this is about this big. And when they go around the reactors, when they come out with their hazmat suits, they're put into a clean room, and that badge lets them know how much radiation they've been exposed to. I'm sure those people make a lot of money, because I wouldn't want any of this. Yeah, not good. Last one. How to prevent it? Don't build homes next to nuclear power plants, like they did with Chernobyl. They wanted to prove, and I think it was Mother Russia at the time, and I think it's Ukraine now, I'm not 100% sure. But when they built Chernobyl, they built the community for the workers right around it to prove how safe that nuclear power plant was. And then they built it down and they killed a bunch of people. Okay, so don't just lob bombs at people. Now, the only country that's used an atomic bomb is us. That was World War II. Okay, so when we bombed Japan, Nagasaki, and it's either Hiroshima or Hiroshima, I've heard it pronounced both ways. And names of the bombs were Fat Man and Little Boy, and I always get them mixed up. And the names of the planes were Boxcar and the Enola Gay. I don't know the names of the pilots, but we are the only country that has officially nuked another country with an atomic bomb. Now, people are lobbing rockets. Hamas has just lobbed like 150 rockets at Israel. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yes. I know they're never going to stop fighting over there. Never, ever stop fighting over there. But yeah, don't go drop the what's the biggest one called? The Bomba Zar. Is it Bomba Zar or Zar Bomba? I think it's Zar Bomba. That's the biggest of them all. The mother of all bombs. Don't use those. I mean, we have them. We have a nuclear. No. Don't just go nuke countries. That is not nice. When you do have nuclear waste, it needs to be treated properly. Okay, it needs to be disposed of properly. I honestly don't know how they dispose of spent uranium. I didn't look that up. And then as far as mining, it's still going to happen. But reduce the amount of mining for uranium itself. Now let's say people want to start lobbing nuclear warheads at each other. That would be the only one that did it. You killed a lot of people. All right, let me pause this and go into, let me stop my recording.